Silver trumpets blow on Temple Mount, shocking Shroud of Turin discovery, and did an earthquake prevent an attack on Israel? Michael Snyder reports. So much is going on in the world right now, and it's truly difficult to keep up with it all. I have a number of things that I wanted to share with you today, so I decided to throw all of it into one article. Before I get into some of the developments from the other side of the world, let me give you a quick update on what is happening in Chicago. Yesterday, I wrote about how law enforcement authorities were bracing for enormous anti-Israel protests, and it's a good thing they're preparing to intervene because on Monday, a group of crazed protesters successfully breached the security perimeter that was supposed to protect the DNC. Protesters broke through a portion of the security fence on West Washington Boulevard. Chicago cops could be seen running to confront the demonstrators. There was a brief standoff between police and protesters. Officers donned riot gear as they faced off with a large crowd. At least 4 protesters were arrested, according to Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling. And a woman was being seen led away in handcuffs while a man was carried away by several officers. The good news is that it appeared that nobody was seriously hurt, but this is not what the Democrats wanted. They wanted a nice, calm convention during which they could attempt to convince everyone that the new Kamala Harris is not the same as the old Kamala Harris. And now that I've given you a quick update on the DNC, I want to switch gears and discuss what's been taking place over in Israel. Several days ago on Tisha B'Av, silver trumpets were blown on the Temple Mount for the very first time in nearly 2,000 years. On Tisha B'Av, the day commemorating the destruction of the Jewish temples in Jerusalem, Josh Wander brought his silver trumpets, especially made for use in the temple, to the Machkama building. Built around 700 years ago, it's currently used as a border police station. The building faces the West Wall Plaza and juts out over the Temple Mount. It was a highly significant moment for Jewish people all over the globe, and I don't understand why more people are not talking about this. These silver trumpets were designed to be copies of the silver trumpets that were used in Solomon's temple, and Josh Wander had previously blown them at a couple of important events here in the United States. After exhaustive research and under strict rabbinic supervision, Josh Wander, a resident of the Mount of Olives, has recreated the silver trumpets from Solomon's temple. Josh blew these trumpets at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference in Tennessee and at CPAC in Washington, D.C., both attended by Donald Trump. As mandated by the Bible, Josh blew the trumpets for the IDF troops as they went out to war against Hamas in Gaza. Also on Tisha B'Av, a magnitude 5.4 earthquake greatly shook areas of Syria and Lebanon. It's being suggested that this may have prevented a large attack on Israel that was planned for that day. The following comes from the Jerusalem Post. In our collective memory, Tisha B'Av has always been a solemn day marked by the destruction of the first and second temples. This year, however, the day bore witness to what many of us view as a modern-day miracle, a testament to divine intervention that could not have come at a more crucial time. Reports confirmed a 5.4 magnitude earthquake that struck Syria and Lebanon, profoundly impacting the region. This was not just any seismic event. It may have served as an unanticipated yet divine act that thwarted a grave threat against Jewish nation. Hezbollah, an established proxy of Iran, has been preparing to launch against Israel a direct affront planned deliberately for Tisha B'Av. Many of the group's underground tunnels, teeming with armaments, may have been reduced to rubble by an act of God to protect his children, which could effectively halt Hezbollah's nefarious plan before it could materialize. A 5.4 magnitude earthquake is pretty big, as you can understand. It is hard to perceive it as mere coincidence that the earth shook on the very day Hezbollah intended to send Israel into mourning once more. With tunnels collapsing and their arsenals buried, what could have been a devastating assault turned into a day of bewildered bewildering relief and gratitude. Could it be possible that there was a connection between the blowing of the silver trumpets and an earthquake that rattled Syria and Lebanon? I don't know, but that is definitely a very interesting question. I do believe that all-out war is coming in the Middle East, but the time for all-out war has not arrived just yet. Elsewhere, Russian President Vladimir Putin just did something that made me chuckle. He signed a decree that allows those seeking to escape the destructive neoliberal ideological agenda, quote unquote, that is dominant in so many Western countries to apply for temporary residency in Russia, he says. Vladimir Putin on Monday signed a decree allowing foreign citizens and stateless individuals to apply for temporary residency in the country if they share traditional Russian spiritual and moral values, even in cases when a person does not speak Russian, he claims. The decree stated that those who oppose the destructive neoliberal ideological agenda in their home country can seek humanitarian support from Russian authorities by applying for a temporary residence permit. It also tasked the government and foreign ministry with creating a list of countries Moscow considered to be pursuing a destructive neoliberal agenda within 30 days. The radical agenda and the liberal elite are almost destroying the Western world, but Russia is definitely not paradise either. And I don't know why anyone would consider moving to Russia at this point, because if they have the slightest suspicion that you might be a spy, you could end up in some horrifying gulag in Siberia for many years to come. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention in the article involves the Shroud of Turin. A team of scientists examined it using wide-angle X-ray scattering to determine when the cloth was originally manufactured. For the new study, scientists in Italy Institute of Crystallography of the National Research Council conducted a recent study using wide-angle X-ray scattering, WAXs for short. The technique measures the natural aging of flax cellulose and converts it to time since manufacture. The team studied 8 small samples of fabric from the Shroud of Turin, putting them under an X-ray to uncover tiny details of the linen structure and cellulose patterns. So what did they discover? Well, they were able to determine that the cloth was consistent with another linen sample that was found from the land of Israel in the 1st century. The data profiles were fully compatible with analogous measurements obtained on linen samples whose dating, according to historic records, is 55 to 74 AD, found at Masada, Israel, Herod's famous fortress built on limestone bedrock overlooking the Dead Sea, reads the study published in the journal Heritage. In other words, this study strengthens the argument that the cloth in which the image appears is about 2,000 years old. Needless to say, this will provide even more fuel for debate over the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. As you can see, a lot has occurred over the past several days, and I believe that the pace of events will accelerate even more as we approach the end of 2024, because we have entered a time of great chaos for the entire planet. Sadly, most people do not understand what is taking place. Most people just assume that life will eventually return to normal, but that simply is not going to happen. This is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder. About the author, Michael Snyder's extremely controversial new book entitled Chaos is available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 7 other books that are available on Amazon, including End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News. And he always freely and happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.